Thank you for joining us and welcome to a live dev mentoring session. In those sessions, we help students of the Essential Developer Academy to solve any software development problems or challenges they are facing. Today, Manuel is our guest. Hello.
Thank you. Hello.
So, for how long have you been a software developer?
I actually started at university, and in 2015 as an intern, I worked already in iOS development, and also a bit of bigger projects. But yeah, uh, I do this full time since 2018. Yeah, and since then I've been a full time freelance iOS developer.
So, you started with iOS development
Yeah,
already.
I started with iOS development. Just at
Awesome.
university, I had some Java, but yeah, professionally I started with
Yes.
iOS.
Nice. All right. How can we help you today?
Yeah, so I have a question, and I want to give a little bit of context. As I mentioned, I've been working as a full-time freelancer for 4 years now, and pretty much at the beginning, I already started working, being the lead of the projects I joined. Like there were some junior developers, and I just had to take care of it immediately. And yeah, so I would say I'm pretty good at those soft skills. I'm a good communicator. I take responsibility for the project. Um, I would say overall, I'm a great leader in these projects. Also, the companies are very happy with me. I was called the best developer in the team and a lead developer, and they even delayed sometimes a release just because was on holidays because they felt more comfortable. And all of this is great, um, but from my hourly rate, I'm not really seeing that. Um, and I'm charging right now 75 euros per hour in Germany, and I think that's solid. It's not bad. I'm also, I would say, solid, but from these other skills, I'm more than that. But in the last months, I've met a lot of other freelancers, and I was just noticing that they made much more money even with less experience, and sometimes maybe more experience, but taking less responsibility and less ownership in a project. And so I don't really know how to get to the point where what's the best fit for me from an hourly rate. So I started with 55 euros in 2018, but and now I'm at 75. But I really want to know how to, yeah, get to the point where I can charge more or where I know how too much I can charge.
Okay. First of all, 75 euros an hour. It's a good salary, right?
Yeah, sure.
And a common way, let's say, to know how much you should charge is to research the market, right? As you said, you talk to other developers, you go to interviews, and you see that okay, there are companies paying more than the company I'm working on. But then you're limited to whatever information you can get, right? So you better research really well if that's your strategy of checking the market. So you did your research, and how much do you have a number in your head that you'll be happy with?
Yeah, my goal is 100 euro per hour, but recently I heard of a lot of guys 95 euros, 85 euros. So these are the numbers I'm thinking of right now.
Okay. Yeah, I don't trust websites like Glassdoor. Like I can use them just to have a average range, but I don't think they are the best source for this kind of things. I think the best source historically for me was recruiters, talking to recruiters or developers, right? Developers and recruiters, they're actually in the day to day, they're like dealing with negotiations, dealing with salaries. So for me, the recruiters always were the best source. I don't know how it is in Germany. I never worked in Germany. At least in London, like recruiters would even invite you to like, no, go to the pub, have a pint or have coffee, and you become kind of buddies. Like we help each other. Like the recruiters make money when you get a job, and you also get a better job. So it's like a win-win situation. If you have good recruiters, you get good information. They'll be helping you get good jobs. So this is something that I had recommend developers do, is be nice to the recruiters. It's a win-win collaboration in there. Even if you get a job now, or you just meet someone, oh, this recruiter is nice, and like maybe in 5 years when you're looking for a job, he will help you, right? So how you also can research stuff. So good sources to know what the market is paying. And then going after the positions, right? So have you already talked to your boss? Before looking for a new job, you can talk to your boss and say, hey, I did some research and this is how much they're paying. Like, my goal is to have this pay. Is like, what would I have to do inside this company to get there? Like, how can I contribute more to increase my value to what you guys are trying to achieve? Have you had a similar conversation with them?
No, not really. I always try to not very often increase my hourly rate when I'm in a project, because I think they booked me before, so maybe they don't want to pay more. But I think it's a good idea if you also offer something, if you offer that you want to do more, and what do I need to do there? Yeah. So I think this is a good idea to talk to them.
Yeah, just be careful with doing more, because it doesn't mean you will work more hours to get that. Otherwise, you're not increasing your hour rate, right? You're increasing your income for working more hours, and you have a limited number of hours. So you have a cap there. But it's important to actually increase your value. So you work the same amount of hours, but get more out of it. And the way to realize like how to increase your value is to first realize what do they value, right? And position yourself to provide, to help them achieve their goals. So it's about their goals, right? You're serving them. It's a service.
Okay.
So yeah, talk to them. Say, hey, those are my long-term goals. Like, I'm not asking anything right now. Like, those are my goals, and I want to realize how can we get there.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Sounds
And
great.
it's especially worth it because sometimes you don't need extra skills to deliver them what they want. They might have some problems they need solved and never, I don't know, found the right guy to do it. Or it's like a reverse engineering when they think about it. Okay, how can we make this relationship more profitable? So they start to think about things. So I think it's always useful to have that conversation. And at least you're being open, right? If they say, okay, we can pay you more, then if you come back in 1 or 2 months with a bigger offer, they're not surprised. Like, they know this is coming, So it's a trade-off, and they'll value it. Like, can we afford to pay more or not? It's open, and I think there's a lot of merit to approaching it like this, as opposed to coming like, okay, I got this huge offer and I'm leaving the company. Like, I always try to avoid that. I think it's a bit unprofessional if you're on this
Yeah.
side.
Indeed.
And when you talk to them, like, one thing that Bogdan said that is important is to have maybe a date for it. Let's say you talk to them and you show your desire of increasing your value and rethinking your compensation. And you can say, like, can we talk in 3 months? And you get a commitment from them that yes, in 3 months we will review your salary. And say, okay, so what can we do in these 3 months to get to the deliver more what you're looking for, right? So you already have a date. So you already, in 3 months time, you already say, hey, remember we talked about it. So you already have a cue to bring it up. So get at least a date commitment from them to talk about it.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, I would like to highlight a bit about the market that you also mentioned, that the market is, it should be defined, and Germany is like a very big place, so you're gonna find different rates in different cities, I guess. So I'm not sure if you mean that you want to stay at the same position, that you like at the same company, work in the same team, but if the goal is just to increase the rate, like of course you can look for also remote positions, perhaps in other markets that they are offering high rates. So that's something that you should consider as well, I believe.
Yeah, although
Yeah,
Germany have good rates, right? It's hard to beat.
indeed. Yeah.
In another way as well, you can think about your how to charge, right? How to decide my hourly rate. Another way, instead of looking what the market is offering for what you have right now in skill set, another way is to think more long term in a way like how much do you want to earn? Right? Let's say like okay, you say 100 now, but let's say what is your long term goal after that? Let's say in 5 years time I want to be making 200 an hour. Now this is double, and maybe with the skills you have right now we cannot make that, but if you have a goal, if you set a goal, no, in 2 years time I want to make 200 euros an hour, then you can research what you need to do to get there, what skills you need to build, what people you need to know, what kind of company you need to work for, what kind of applications, what kind of challenges are actually rewarding developers for that amount. So you reverse that, instead of looking how much people are offering, say I want to make this now, what do I need to do to get there?
Yeah, this makes
But
sense.
this is more long term, because like you cannot do it immediately.
Yeah, what works best added to what Kaya said is to split it down into intervals. So if you say, okay, in 5 years I want to make 2.5x or whatever it was, the relationship between 75 and 200, then this means that I need to increase my rate by, I don't know, 50% every 7 months or something like that. So you have a like a closer thing to aim for that's not that big, because otherwise you can say, okay, I have no idea how to get there, and I'll make whatever steps, like what I'm trying to say is breaking it down into smaller increments where you can track progress over a shorter amount of time. Maybe an analogy to what we do in a Scrum process with just one iteration at a time, and you can check progress.
Okay,
That
perfect.
at least helped me.
Yeah, we can think like, let's say we're going to work from 75 to 200. It's not like there won't, rarely will be a jump. It can happen, it can happen, but that's more rare to have a jump 75 to 200. But it could be like 75. It's not linear as well. You need to think that it's not always growing. Maybe you have a time in your path that will be zero, right? You take a sabbatical to study or to do something else, and then you come back and make 150. Like sharpening your axe, like you need to stop chopping the tree, and it feels like you went to zero, but it's just like a strategical pause to achieve the next level, right? Dedicating some 3 months to your education where you make zero, but then when you come back you can have a huge jump because you research that there is a gap in the market that don't have those skills, and companies need those skills, and you're preparing yourself for that. So it's not linear, always going up. We cannot think that things always go up. Sometimes things go down. But if it's a strategical down, that's good, right? Sometimes to jump to 200, like that's like if you research like the maximum you found someone making is 100. So to make 200, that you'll be in unknown territory. You have to research a lot and practice and be around the right people. So when you are in unknown territory, like things can go up and down until you get there. It's not linear.
And also, like in any improvement, the first steps are usually the fastest, right? It's really easy to, I don't know, to get to 50 or to get to 70 then. But as you grow, as you increase these rates and whatever, like we can think about other things as well in an abstract way. The last parts of the optimization are always the hardest. So sometimes you have to make a huge investment just to gain another 5% or like 10%, because like Kyle said, you're in unknown territory. You really don't know how to move there. So also keep that in mind. So the growth will not keep the same rate. It's impossible, right? Otherwise you'll be like, I don't know, 10, 15 years of experience in making I don't know how many money. Like, I don't want to think about the number, but it won't grow as fast, as steady.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think this answers my question pretty well. So I would go over to another question I have. And as I mentioned before, I was already working on pretty big projects, and right now I'm again working on a pretty interesting project with more than 1 million users.
Wow.
And the team completely changed over the last 12 months. Every designer left, every iOS developer, every Android developer, even the Scrum Master has changed. And so obviously the client is a little bit concerned about how the project will progress in the future, because they were very happy. They had a rapid growth and they want to keep that streak and grow steadily again. And right now I'm the member who is in the project for the longest time, and I've joined in October, so last year. So only about 6 months now. But they're very happy with me, and we have now 2 Android developers, and I'm the only iOS developer. But you don't notice this. So it's pretty much the same speed every single iteration of a Scrum. We have the same results. But now they want, obviously, the company I'm working for right now, they want also someone of their people join the project. And so they looked for people who they can hire and not just as a freelancer. And we didn't found anyone. So we had a lot of interviews, and either it was not a fit for the company, or they were technically not on a good position, or just it was just not a good fit for the project itself. And then we had one guy who was very willing to learn, and we said, okay, we think he's a good fit, and he want him to join the project, even though his technical skills are not that great so far, because we said we don't want to lose time to find another person. And in the interview, he said something along the lines, he did a test project, and he said, like, okay, I wanted to do this in Swift UI to learn it, because I think it would have taken me much longer to do it in Swift. So just for context, and he said this multiple times, so he mixed something up with UIKit and compared to Swift, and he's obviously a junior developer. But overall, then, from a team perspective, we all felt good about him, so we decided to hire him. But now I want to get him to a level that he really helps the project, because I had projects in the past where I got the feeling like I'm as fast as without the other members, just because they were less experienced. So I always took me time to get them, to teach them something. And now I want to know, how do I get him up and running as fast as possible, or get to an intermediate iOS level? Or I would put it in another way: if I would pay you $1 million to make him a mid-level iOS developer in 3 months, how would you train him or teach him?
You say you want to make him at that level. Does he want to be at that level? Like
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. This was one reason why we agreed on that. That he's a good fit. He was very willing to learn. He showed that with every single sentence like that. He was really like, I want to grow. I want to learn much, and I hope you can teach me a lot. And yeah, so I think he's on board with that. I hope so.
Right. So I would like to rephrase the question because, for example, say if I give you $1 million, what would you do to make him a mid developer in 3 months? And like $1 million doesn't change the fact. Like you could give me 2 million, 3 million. Like it's not like money would putting more money doesn't solve the problem, right? It's like, and it doesn't depend only on me as well. It depends on another person that, as Mike said, maybe they have different goals in life. They're not in the same, uh, it's not aligned with the goals that you have for him. He has other priorities in this life. It would depend on how much he already knows, his foundational knowledge. So I think that the question could be like, what would you do in the first 3 months someone join your team to get them up to speed? I think that's a better question, right?
Yeah, sure.
A junior developer.
And by the
And I
way,
want to get
just
him up to speed as fast as possible. I would pair maybe 100% of the time these first 3 months. And do everything together and explain everything I'm doing. I think that's my
Are
answer.
you familiar with pair programming?
Yeah, sure. I did this with the other guys as well. Just one thing I've noticed was a lot of the time, maybe but these were different developers, so it's again totally different. But I got the feeling like I want to teach them something, and they just want to know the solution. They just want to get the ticket from in progress to done. And it was hard for me sometimes in pair programming to really show them what it's about and that they can do this on their own when they face a similar problem later.
Manuel, you can't make 12-year whiskey, in 6 years. Like it needs time. That's why they're juniors, that's why you need to be patient and you need to have a plan and, like communicate that plan and just provide the best environment for them to grow, like there's no other way around it.
What I think is like it helps them fight this urgency, because there is an urgency. Like you want to do things as fast as possible. Like as a beginner, especially, there are many reasons for that. One is like, oh, if I'm not fast, I'm going to be fired. So there are many reasons that you can uncover by pairing with them and seeing like, where does this urgency comes from? Maybe it comes from you. Maybe they feel like, oh, you're so fast, and if I'm not as fast as you, I'll be fired, right?
Yeah.
So we need to uncover that. And one way is like they may be willing, like, oh, I'm not going to write tests because then I'm going to be faster. I'm not going to refactor because I'm going to be faster. And then what you need is defining a very strong like definition of done in your team. When you say, I'm done with this card, with this Trello ticket or Jira ticket or task, what is the definition of done? And this needs to be very clear. You're not done until you test it. You're not done until the code is clean. You set whatever makes sense to your team. What is your definition of done? This is a personal thing that your team, you will decide there. As a lead developer there, you will be creating the initial definition of done, and through iterations you will improve it with your team, right? You want everyone on board. But it needs to be a very clear definition of done. So when they're trying to rush, it's like, okay, you're rushing, but you're only done when you get these things right. So you can rush as much as you want. You are only done when you achieve this minimal uh, quality level.
And how
Right?
do you monitor that? For example, we have a definition of done, but just recently I noticed same with Android team. They set on something it was done, and their definition of done clearly says it's done when it's merged into develop, and it wasn't that it was just merged after the sprint. And so I said, well, according to our definition of done, is it wasn't ready. I didn't know about that, but I think there's a tendency to have this that they don't um, there's somewhere document in Confluence, but no one is looking at that. How do I track that they take care of it? Should I should I do this on every single pull request review that they've done that, or how would you approach that?
Now, you don't want to be the guardian of the code base. I've tried it. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
It doesn't work, especially because, as you said, you go on holidays and then it's like you leave them without the accountability. If you are doing all the checks, they have no accountability. You want the team to have accountability, right? They need to be self accountable. Like they need to be the guardians of the definitions of done and the quality levels that you want in the team. It cannot come from one person. Have you read the lead developer Essentials book?
Yeah, I'm currently reading it actually.
Yeah, we talk about this in detail there. Accountability is extremely important. That it comes from your team, not just from the leader. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. This definition of done. When you are pairing with your team, you will be, and they will are brush and rush. Okay, we need to do the test. Okay, the code needs to be clean. Okay, the code needs to be merged before we move this card. And every time you see some kind of urgency, you say, this is more important than the urgency than time. Time is important, yes, but it's not more important than the code working, for example, without bugs, right? Because you can go fast now, but then if the code is buggy, it will come back. The card will move back, right? So you're done when you're done. And you only know that you're done when you fulfill all the quality level defined by the team. So lead by example. When you're pairing with them, you show them discipline in everything you do. You need to be the role model. So sometimes you'll be pairing with them. You are driving. Sometimes they are driving. You shouldn't only be the one coding as well, and they should not be the only one coding as well. Both ways. Like pairing session is both sometimes are the drivers of the session. 50-50.
Kyle, I'm glad you brought the rush point to the table, because I think it applies to both how you and your team handle tasks, but also to the, I don't know, the previous topic, which was how do you get a junior developer to a mid-level? Like I would apply the same no rush technique. So sometimes, I mean, not sometimes, maybe always, it cannot be done in 3 months, or maybe it's just if all the everything is aligned, then maybe it's possible. But still, I would not rush it, because it's like for that simple task that comes to bite you afterwards, it's the same with. And I think it's even worse when you think somebody is at a certain level and they're not. Like they need to burn the hours, they need to maybe make mistakes and learn from them. Of course you can speed up, so you can be smart about it, and uh, like maybe spend the right time with them, pair program, teach them, like Kaya said, let them drive sometimes so you can give them feedback. But rushing also would not give you the results you want in long term. So maybe your role as a leader is sometimes to push back and to say to whoever's in charge, to say, okay, this is not possible, but this is what I give you instead. So just saying no is not a good strategy, but you can maybe try to accommodate by doing, I don't know, coming up with a plan, or trying to mitigate these things, because it's all on you. You're actually trying to build a team that you're going to work with. So think about your interest in like medium term. Do I want these guys to be here with me? Do I want to be able to rely on them? Do I want them to, I don't know, avoid being burned out in those 3 months? That kind of thing, So it's heavy. It's it's really difficult being the, I don't know, the leader of a team. Comes with great responsibility, but it's also very, very good and can give you a lot of satisfaction. So it depends on you as a person. What's your, I don't know, how you handle these things, because there's no textbook. I mean, there is like the essential developer book, but even that book won't give you all the answers. It would give you most of the answers, I think, because it's really good.
Okay, thanks.
So just a recap, I would pair until there is a solid foundation, like shared values and quality level pursuit, like what is the team pursuits to achieve, like in a basic level, like definitions of done, how we operate. And when the basics are set and there's a shared understanding that like there's no point in rushing because this is more important, that achieving these goals are more important. And when you see that this is fine, then you can give them responsibility, because accountability will come with responsibility, and they need to go their own way, and they will fail. Like everyone fail. We fail as well, so let them go their own way. And when they're having trouble and they ask for help, you help. But they also need to gain their independence at some point, and they should be able to be accountable for the results. Because as a lead, you think I'm faster than everyone, and then you want to do all the work if they're going slow, and then they're going to lose accountability, and you can only go as fast as you go. Your team is not going to scale. So you don't want to be this leader, because I've been this leader and it doesn't work.
Yeah, see. Okay. Yeah, I've actually one more question, and this goes along with the things I said before, that I feel I'm very good at these soft skills, and that the customers, my clients, are always very happy with me. They really like to work with me. But personally, I think I'm very good on these soft skills. Or let's say I'm above average on these soft skills, but sometimes I feel like could be better technically. And I feel like, okay, test-driven development, I do this from time to time, but sometimes I just have a hard time, and it would be unprofessional to do it just in a working context if it takes me much longer. So I practice this in my free time. But yeah, I feel like I'm looking for a schedule right now, how to really grow technically, because I think I'm at a decent level with the soft skills, but I also want to have this kind of level when it comes to my technical skills. And I know there's not a perfect schedule, especially because everyone is different from knowledge and all of these things. But I have like 1 hour per day, and I don't know what should I focus on, and how would this kind of perfect schedule look like?
Yeah, you probably need a mix of theory and practice, right? So you already read a lot of books, right?
Yes.
How is the practice, the actual application of the concepts? Do you also dedicate time for that?
Yeah, kind of, but I think I tend to do a little bit too much of reading books and teaching and doing courses or something like this, and a little bit not enough of practice at the end of the day. And that's why I'm also looking for a good schedule right now. So what I'm doing right now, one time a week, I really take time for, I call it deliberate practice, really like really looking at one topic, one problem I faced, and really trying to find a solution and then write it down. So I have it as a reference later. And also that I just solve this problem. But overall, sometimes I get the feeling I read a book and I don't have enough time to apply all of that. And then I'm already on a new book and trying to apply some things. So yeah.
I don't think you need to apply everything you read in a book, because that's a lot, right? There are books like, for example, you read a DDD book, like almost 1,000 pages. It would be very hard to apply everything, but maybe you can Identify things in the book that you read that maybe will make an impact in what you are working on right now, and you practice those concepts, in solving problems that you have at work, and try to find, like, say you have 1 hour a day outside work, right? Because when we are at work, we're not practicing, we are applying, right? Like, we are like musicians, they go to the stage to perform, they don't go to the stage to practice, right? They already practice hours and hours and hours in the studio, and when you are in this 1 hour, you are practicing. And as you say, deliberate practice is the best one. You're practicing a specific concept, and but practicing how, like, I like katas, but I don't want to be stuck only with katas, like, oh, TDD kata, bowling. How many times I'm going to implement bowling in professionally? Probably never.
Yeah, no,
But you can practice the kata to get used to the TDD flow. Okay, I did the bowling kata 3 times. Now, yesterday, I implemented a feature, but I didn't test drive it because I thought it was not professional because it would take longer. Now I have this 1 hour. What if I try to implement it, test drive it in this 1 hour where I'm not damaging my client, and this is the time to practice those things that you cannot do at work. So when you go back to work tomorrow, maybe you can test drive the next feature because you practiced. So I like to get this time that I have for practicing and applying to real world scenarios that will help me tomorrow,
Yes, that's the difference. Exactly. Like, we see people wanting to practice, like with to-do list kind of applications or recipes or, I don't know, books, stuff like that, and they're just not realistic enough. And then they open the code bases at work, and they're dealing with this spaghetti code and all these dependencies, and they have no idea how to create test doubles and, use proper dependency injection. So they don't do it, and they say, well, I don't have enough time, or I'm not fast enough. You will never be fast enough, if you don't practice with the right things, like set the right environment.
That's how I learned test-driven development, by the way.
Yeah.
I wanted to apply it at work, but we have deadlines. So what did I do? I would go home. Okay, I'm not at work anymore. I still have a copy of the code base in my machine. I'm going to try to test drive some stuff in that code base. And if I like the result, I create a new branch. Maybe the next day I'll even push it. So I did I work for free for the company. No, I was working on myself and deliver more value to the company at the same time, which means when the end of the year came, or like half year, I get a promotion. Oh, they increased my salary by 20,000 pounds. Awesome. I improve my skills, increase my salary. Why not? It's a no-brainer for me. I'm solving a real problem that we have at work in my spare time. I'm not working for free. But if I didn't take this time, I wouldn't be able to develop this skill that will triple my salary in 3 years,
Yes.
So applying to real world scenarios. If you don't have the space at work, you can even use the work project, deliver more value to them for free. Some people think it's free. I don't think it. I think I'm winning a lot.
No, it's part of focusing, like understand what you want to achieve and focus on that. Instead of just saying, oh, okay, like I'm going to deal with this new framework, or I'm going to learn this new technology in my spare time. No, just focus on what matters. And if test-driven development is what matters to you, just do it properly.
But that's interesting what you said. So because right now I'm facing a project where we're the first time with Combine, and also we use Swift UI already heavily. So Swift UI I'm pretty good with that already, but Combine it could be better. I did RX Swift before, but some concepts are a little bit different, or I think in general maybe I just don't know the terms how to do the same thing with Combine, and this is also one thing I've asked myself, how do I do this, like this, keep up with the newest technologies, because I will going to need probably Combine in the next project when I don't need it in the project right now, or maybe in 2 years from now. And how do I do this stuff that I'm needing right now? How do I balance that?
Yeah, if you need something right now, maybe you're not gonna need it next month, but you need it right now. So invest some time into getting it right? And let's say Combine. Don't focus on just Combine as like, oh, how to use this framework, but like how to think in a reactive way, right? Thinking about this RX as a pattern, not as a framework. It's like it's a way of thinking that is different. It's like a different paradigm, right? Just like you have object orientation, you have functional programming. There are different paradigms. You need to change how you think about things. You need to think of things differently. So, for example, you read a book or you take a course on Combine, but you're still not confident you're gonna use it at work. Take this hour that you have and get your project that you use at work. Create a new branch and try out some ideas. Just like out some ideas. If it's a good solution, you can even commit and boom, you get some bonus, like improve the project you're working on. So
Yeah, okay, this
you're
makes sense.
practicing in a real world scenario, not with examples you get like very simple on the internet, right? So you learn the most by actually practicing, by not just by reading. The theory is important, but only when you can apply it that you're gonna get the most benefits of it. So watching videos, reading is important, but the most important is having the skills to apply it and get the returns, right? Otherwise, it's just knowledge in your head. It's important to be able to apply it and applying the real world scenarios. And the best way to do it is in a real world project at work. But we don't have a lot of time at work to try out new ideas. Since you have 1 hour a day, use the still the work project, win some points with your boss. Just explain to your team what you're doing, because maybe other people in your team will feel like they need to work off work hours. We may put some pressure on them and say, no, there's no pressure here. I'm just trying out some ideas. And because if the leader is working off hours, maybe the other people will follow.
Yeah, indeed.
And they will burn out.
Okay, perfect. Makes sense.
Another thing I would like to say is be careful with the sources you're using to learn as well. For example, don't confuse entertainment with education. It might be entertaining to watch a guy on YouTube solving algorithms, but doesn't mean you're learning anything, right? You can spend many hours thinking that, oh, it's education material just because it's talking about a topic I'm interested in. But maybe you're not learning anything that is practical that you're going to use at work, So education usually is not entertaining. Like it's grueling. Like you'd be practicing on your own, and it's not going to be entertaining. If it is entertaining, fantastic, but sometimes it's not. Don't be discouraged by that.
Yeah, I think if it's only entertaining, you're doing something wrong, and if it's only boring, it's also wrong. So somewhere in between, it's the sweet spot.
What makes things not boring for me are the aha moments. Like you have this boring, like reading and trying out, and when everything clicks and it works in your project, like the aha moments, like is what makes it worth it.
Yeah.
Like when you're learning, for example, Combine or this reactive programming approach, and you don't understand flat map, you don't understand, and suddenly you see an example where you do something that's like, I get it. Maximizing these aha moments is It's going to make it much more enjoyable. You'll be learning much more than just entertainment. And focus on the lectures right now. Until you finish the iOS Lead Essentials program, focus on the lectures. So, because what is important, it will expose knowledge gaps that maybe you don't know. The things you don't know.
Yeah.
By watching the lectures, like, it will open your eyes to a bunch of things that then you can fill those gaps. But until you learn that there are those things out there, you may not be looking for answers, right? So first, be exposed to the concepts, to the essentials. Everything will become easier after that.
Yeah. A good example is probably, I don't know, just to pick an example, domain-driven design. Like, many developers don't even know about this concept. So going through the lectures, you'll keep hearing about, okay, domain-driven design once, twice, and say, okay, I need to maybe explore this better. So that's where the gap is open, and you start to understand about one of the domains, and then some other term appears, and you start to gain knowledge about different concepts, different domains that apply, and some of them might be, I don't know, at first just you get only glimpses of what they mean, but you still have this in the back of your mind. So you say, okay, when I have the next hour where I can study, I will read about that just to clarify it, you know. And I can totally relate to Kaio's point. Like, I had one point in my career where I would maybe read a lot of articles on Medium or other platforms, and I thought that was increasing my knowledge. But now I see that as suboptimal, because most of the time people write articles which are out of context. They only solve like a tiny problem, and you don't even know the field they're approaching in, right? So you think, I spent 1 hour today reading to these articles, but they don't really add up, and sometimes they may give you false information. So maybe it's better to spend that time practicing something you already know, or I don't know, reading a book about one topic which you're unfamiliar with. I know security is definitely one which you never know enough about. So there's many things in our field, and if you, my point is, just be greedy with your time. Like, if I have that 1 hour, I'm not gonna throw it away on some, I don't know, fast article or YouTube video or something like that. Be greedy about, do I really gain something? Make a priority list and work from the top, instead of just spreading your time around with everything. Like, if somebody tweets about something, or like, that's just noise. Try to see past that.
One thing I did, a pact with myself to help me choose better sources when I'm reading books. For example, I said, if I open a book, I'm going to read it until the end. And I cannot just start reading a book and stop. Like, I made this pact with myself. And a lot of times I read a lot of bad books. Like, I hated it, but it made me much more, because I have this mentality. If I open a book and I start reading it, I'm going to finish it. It made me much more picky before I open a book. Maybe force me to actually, you know what, like, okay, if I'm going to open this book and start reading it, like, let me make sure it's a good source.
Yeah.
Focus on the lectures and take notes. Don't just watch the lectures. Like, take notes and practice what you see.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this makes perfect sense what you said, especially with don't just read random articles, because I've seen a lot of, it's almost common wisdom to just follow these famous guys in the iOS field, but also Twitter, and just this is how you educate. But I think this is not it didn't bring me much further to my goals when I did that. So I stopped it, and that's why this question came up. Yeah, so this makes total sense.
Some of them are good, but some of them are just famous. Like have a, I don't know how they got to these many followers, and you keep pushing stuff. I always like to, I don't know, be advocate of the devil and think about, okay, is this guy really legit? Like how can I tell? And they might be legit, but it doesn't apply to what I'm trying to learn. So um, like you said, yeah, it's become a habit of developers just sharing short articles, short pieces of information, because we're living in this era where we want fast results to like consume something really quickly and be able to, I don't know, do something really really fast. And it goes down to the example of training a junior to be a mid developer in 3 months. Like everything's about
Yeah,
speed. Like how can we do that uh, in the shortest amount of time? And sometimes that's a bad strategy. Um,
okay, perfect. Thank you.
and I also have one point about what you said. I don't know if you guys want to keep talking about improving technical skills, because I want to address the non-technical skills for a bit. I don't want to diverge it now if we still have something to add here. Oh, okay.
I
So
think
yeah, go
I
ahead, Clem.
am. Yeah, I think I'm good with this. Did we answer your question, Manu?
Yeah, sure, completely.
So practicing in real world scenarios is the best. If you can apply at work, fantastic. Otherwise, you can even apply with the project at work, but on your spare time, learn new techniques and apply at work, and get the benefits, and even win some points with your boss.
Okay. So I don't know. I want to address this because I think it's right. Um, I I don't know, maybe stuck with something that you said at the beginning of the question. Like you said, you're above average with soft skills. And I want to maybe t- turn that around a bit, uh, like share something. I think it's a bit risky to just put an etiquette, like say, okay, I'm above average, uh, because that in one way it limits your growth. So you're not really interested to develop that skill anymore. You say, okay, I'm good enough. I don't need to do anything. And the second part of it is, I mean, yeah, you're doing this for a few years now, but I don't know, in our industry we have guys that are doing programming for, I don't know, 50 years or something. So there's still a lot of room to a lot of projects, to see a lot of situations. So I would not put this limitation to myself, like thinking I'm good enough, because then I won't be, I don't know, open to understanding what's out there. How can I actually grow uh, on this vertical as well? So instead, I think it would be, or at least for me, it's more useful to say to myself, okay, how can I grow this even further? Like, okay, I won't deny that I'm good. Like I like to feel that way too. But how can I keep growing on this? What are other people doing that maybe I don't know, overall they are not as good as myself, but they do this thing better than I. So maybe I can learn. I think most of the time you can learn something from everyone. So be having that approach really changes the way you think. Uh, so I don't know how you want to do it, or what's your goal here, but I would say keep an open mind and try to be even better. Like soft skills are something that scale to any domain. So if you want to go build I don't know, rockets tomorrow, you're still gonna need soft skills. So it's something really worth investing. And like, like you never know. I also thought in different situations that I'm very good, and then I came to this academy and I had to reevaluate uh, my scale, because I found these guys that are incredible on some things like communication and being clear about things, and like there's always I don't know, models which you can take. So just, I don't know, take this with a grain of salt. I haven't worked with you, so I definitely don't want to say anything that you're not that good or any, but I think there's a lot to grow in any area. That's kind of how I see this.
Yeah, there's always room to improve. I see this like this as well. Just wanted to keep a keep a balance, not like just growing just in one direction, but more like I wanted to grow in both directions again. Let's put it like that. But it's very
Oh, that's fair.
good
That's fair.
input. Yeah.
Yeah, because always when we say like I'm good at something, it's always in comparison. Comparing to whom, right? Like comparing to what? And when we say, "Oh, I'm very good developer," if you are in a room with 10 people that started developing yesterday, you are amazing. If you have like 2 weeks of development more, right? So it's always in comparison to your bubble, immediate bubble, right? And so experiencing other bubbles is the another way of expanding your knowledge, right? Like say like in jiu-jitsu, you can be beating everyone in your dojo, but you go to another dojo and you are no one and everyone beats you. Like, and you think you are the best because you beat everyone in your dojo, but there's so much more to learn in other bubbles. So always be open-minded.
Sure. Thanks.
All right. Anything else? Any other questions? Anyone want to add anything? I really like this session. It was awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too. I really like the points you put there. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Manuel.
Till next time.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.